Was Caligula truly a depraved tyrant or a victim of historical exaggeration? Unravel the shocking myths surrounding his reign, exposing the truth hidden beneath the sensational narratives of ancient Rome. Chapter 1. Myth 1. Caligula's incestuous relationships. Picture this: the gossip grapevine of ancient Rome ablaze with scandalous rumors. Did Caligula, the man with a penchant for drama, really engage in unsavory relationships with his family members? Hold on to your togas. We're diving into the juicy details. Now, our ancient sources, the historical tabloids of the time, loved to dish out spicy tales, and they didn't hold back on Caligula. Some claimed he had a thing for family reunions that went a tad too far. But before we gasp and clutch our laurel wreaths, let's question the reliability of these ancient paparazzi. Are these tell-all scrolls the gospel truth, or could they be the ancient equivalent of clickbait? Imagine the scribes of yore, desperately seeking those scroll views. Caligula's shocking secrets revealed, they might proclaim, penning tales that'd make a modern soap opera blush. Now, let's play detective. Were these scandal sheets credible? Some historians argue they might have had an agenda, perhaps a political vendetta, or just a desperate bid for scroll sales. Imagine the ancient drama. Soldier-turned-scribe exposes Caligula's dark secrets. Scroll now for drachmas. But wait, before we throw Caligula under the chariot, let's consider alternative plot twists. Could these rumors be the result of historical miscommunication or a game of ancient telephone gone wrong? Maybe Caligula's idea of family bonding was misunderstood, lost in translation from ancient Latin to modern scandal. Picture this scene: Caligula organizing a grand family feast, complete with togas, laurel crowns, and a generous supply of olive oil. Was it a bit eccentric? Perhaps. Did it involve more grapes and laughter than forbidden love? Quite likely. Let's not forget, dear history buffs, that rumors, like ancient grapevines, tend to twist and tangle over time. Myth 2. Caligula as a sadistic torturer. In the dark corners of ancient Rome, where rumors echoed through cobblestone streets, one myth about Caligula stood out like a sore thumb: the tale of a sadistic torturer, a man who took pleasure in the suffering of others. Now, gather around as we embark on a journey to separate fact from fiction in the curious case of Caligula, the supposed tormentor-in-chief. Picture this: Caligula, draped in his imperial toga, cackling maniacally as he devises diabolical ways to torture his subjects. But hold your horses, or in this case, chariots. The sources that spun these yarns might have been more interested in drama than documentary accuracy. Let's dive into the stories that paint Caligula as a Roman Ramsay Bolton, tales of extravagant and sadistic games where Caligula allegedly found joy in inflicting pain. Now, don't jump to conclusions. This isn't a script for a Roman horror movie. Historical fact-check time. Our ancient gossip columnists, historians like Suetonius and Cassius Dio, penned these stories. However, it's essential to remember that they lived in an era when embellishment was the spice of life. Imagine Twitter, but instead of retweets, they got statues erected in their honor. So, should we take these accounts with a grain of Roman salt? Absolutely. Just like modern celebrity rumors, these tales may have been sensationalized for a more captivating narrative. Maybe Caligula just had a penchant for throwing over-the-top parties, and his guests left with exaggerated stories to share at the Roman water cooler. Now, let's talk about political motives, the original spin doctors. Caligula, known for his rocky relationship with the Senate, might have been the victim of some good old character assassination. Imagine your boss spreading rumors about your extravagant coffee breaks just because you asked for a raise. Politics in ancient Rome, just as cutthroat, but with more togas. Myth 3. Caligula's claim to divinity. So let's dive into the wild tales of Caligula's divine ambitions. Picture this: a majestic Roman palace, with Caligula strutting around, declaring, "Hail me, I'm not just Caesar, I'm basically a god on earth." Now, that's quite a claim to fame, or infamy, depending on who you ask. Our historical detective work begins with the ancient scrolls and tablets that spill the beans on Caligula's godly aspirations. Some old-timer historians couldn't resist jotting down the juicy gossip. They insisted Caligula had a grand plan to be worshipped like a rock star in ancient temples. Imagine the audacity. But hold on, dear viewer. Let's not be too quick to crown him with laurel leaves of divine delusion. Other history buffs raise their skeptical eyebrows, questioning the credibility of these ancient gossips. After all, isn't it more fun to embellish stories than to stick to the dull facts? So, why on earth, or in the heavens, would Caligula pull off such a divine stunt? Well, enter the political circus of ancient Rome. In the grand arena of power plays, a self-deified emperor could sway the masses and keep the political puppet strings in his hands. It's like saying, hey, if I'm a god, you better do what I say or risk divine wrath. Not your everyday political maneuver, but hey, this is Caligula we're talking about. But let's not be too quick to judge the guy. Maybe, just maybe, Caligula's self-deification was a clever PR move. Imagine the divine marketing team brainstorming in the background. Let's spice things up a bit, shall we? People love a good mystery. And what's more mysterious than a ruler who thinks he's divine? Myth 4. Caligula's excessive extravagance. Now, imagine this. Caligula, draped in the finest togas, striding through the streets of Rome with pockets deeper than the Tiber River. The tales tell of his lavish spending, extravagant parties, and a lifestyle that would make even a Kardashian raise an eyebrow. So, did Caligula have a secret shopping addiction? Well, let's don our historical detective hats and dig deeper than an ancient Roman sewer system. First off, the accounts of Caligula's spending sprees are as dramatic as a Shakespearean tragedy. They describe him splurging on the fanciest of feasts, decking himself in jewels fit for a pharaoh, and commissioning extravagant buildings faster than you can say togas and tiaras. But hold your chariots. Let's not forget that history can be a bit like that gossiping neighbor who spices up every story. Some historians argue that Caligula's extravagance might just be a case of bad press. Maybe the guy had a knack for grandeur, or perhaps his definition of a simple dinner party was just a tad different from ours. Consider this. Maybe those shiny new buildings were just his way of stimulating the economy. Job creation, anyone? Who knew ancient Rome had its own version of a job fair, sponsored by Emperor Caligula? And let's talk economic context. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it sure felt like Caligula was trying. His grand projects may have been his way of putting Rome on the map, the ancient equivalent of a massive PR campaign. Move over, Colosseum. Here comes Caligula's palace of bling. So, was Caligula really the shopaholic the history books make him out to be? Or was he just a misunderstood trendsetter, a Roman fashionista ahead of his time? As we peel back the layers of myth, one thing's for sure. Caligula's extravagant reputation might just be the ancient world's version of a juicy tabloid headline. Chapter 2. Legacy Beyond Myths. So what happened after the dust settled? Well, Rome wasn't just left with a hangover, it had a full-blown historical headache. Caligula didn't just mess with his contemporaries, he left a lasting mark on Roman governance and society. Firstly, think of Caligula as a human wrecking ball with a taste for extravagance. His splurges weren't just about him having a good time, they had consequences. Imagine your friend who spends way too much on brunch every weekend, except instead of avocado toast, Caligula was splurging on palaces, ships, and fancy dinner parties. The Roman treasury was rolling its eyes and crying in a corner. But here's the twist. Maybe Caligula wasn't just a gold leaf-loving maniac. Perhaps he was trying to boost the economy, one lavish party at a time. I mean, if people are building palaces and hosting grand feasts, someone's got to make all those togas, right? It's the ancient version of a stimulus package, Caligula style. Now let's talk about the elephant in the Roman Forum, Caligula's impact on subsequent rulers. After his wild ride, Rome needed a bit of a detox. Enter the more subdued emperors who were probably allergic to gold leaf. Caligula set the bar so high, or low, depending on your perspective, that his successors had to do some serious image repair. The influence didn't stop there. Caligula's legacy echoed through history. Imagine him as the original influencer, but instead of Instagram, it's Roman politics. Later rulers had to balance the scales, proving they were nothing like the madman who declared war on the sea and collected seashells as trophies.